work, I would weld, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. And I would save up a whole bunch of money. And then I would go over to Europe and travel for a few months until my money ran out. Let's recreate this awesome lifestyle of travel and fun. But this time, let's do it not only so our money doesn't run out, but so our money keeps expanding.
Welcome, everyone, to the Road Less Traveled podcast. This is your co-host, Richard Coyne. Our show is about listeners who have started down one path and decided to take another path and move in a different direction. So, again, co-host Richard Coyne.
And I'm co-host Bill Zahller.
Today's guest is Bryce Robertson. Bryce, we're going to look forward to this conversation, and let me toss it back to Bill.
Yeah, hi, Bryce. Thanks for joining us on the Road Less Traveled show. We appreciate you being a guest.
Thanks for having me here, guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, can you tell us a little bit about your former career and then what path you're on now?
Yeah. So I actually, when I went to school, I was at the crossroads in grade 11, and I had that one fork in the road was I continue my education, go to university, and keep busting out that one. And I knew that was not even an option for me at the time because I was so bored with school and education at that time. And so I took the other path of going out and getting a job. I had no idea about being an entrepreneur at the time. I ended up getting the highest paying blue collar job that I could find, which was a steel fabricator welder. And I ended up doing my apprenticeship in, I think it took about 3 years. So by the time I was 20, I was a qualified journeyman. And then I went out to Western Australia and Northern Territories and worked in the underground gold mines. And because that was where I knew that I could earn the most money that I could. But I really despised what I did. I really didn't like it. It was bad for my health. It was a bad environment to be around. I was around, I wouldn't say the best mindset of other guys that I was working with. And it was just all around an environment that really wasn't where I wanted to be. But I didn't have any other choices, and I didn't know about anything else. So by early 20s, I think about 23, I left Australia and I traveled the world for 6 years. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to go out there and have experiences and live my life. It's a thing that gets ingrained in us in our culture in Australia. So I went over and I traveled. I had a base camp. I started off in London. I positioned myself there. I would work, I would weld, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week. And I would save up a whole bunch of money. And then I would go over to Europe and travel for a few months until my money ran out. And then I would come back and I would do it all over again. And then I'd go travel to Africa and then come back in Europe. And I did that for about 3 years. Then I went over to Canada. I wanted a scene change. So I went to Fernie in British Columbia, up in the mountains there, a small ski village of about 5,000 people. And I ended up staying there for about 2 years. And I just snowboarded, downhill mountain biked. I had a little business in the coal mines there. And I was also a firefighter there for a couple of years as well. Saved up a bunch of money. And I went down to Central and South America on an 18-month surfing and scuba diving adventure, which is where I met my wife, who is a native from Southern California. So we ended up back in America at around about the age of 30. And when we entered America, my wife and I decided, let's recreate this awesome lifestyle of travel and fun and adventure and exploration. But this time, let's do it not only so our money doesn't run out, but so our money keeps expanding and growing while we're traveling. So then we ended up exploring the 3 different ways that we can make massive wealth. And that's real estate, stock market, and owning a business. And in the beginning, I actually tried all of those things at once. And I was doing about 7 different hustles, and I was having mediocre success in all of them because I was spinning plates. So then I decided to laser focus on one thing, and I chose mobile home park investing as my asset class and niche to focus on. And then 2.5 years later, I became financially free, retired myself from my W-2 job, and the rest is history.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So like packed quite a few into those years. What was your business you had in the coal mines? Canary sales or?
Yeah, we were doing we were actually doing repairs on all the earth moving equipment and everything like that.
Oh, I guess the other problem with the coal mine or with the gold mine, is that they checked your pockets at the end of the day. You weren't able to take any samples with you, huh?
Nah, not allowed to take any out.
Got it. So Bryce, wow, that's quite a story, kind of leading you to where you are now. Is there anything along the way, either perhaps with some of the steel fabrication stuff, or some of your other ventures that basically said, listen, I got to make a change. The steel thing's not working for me.
Mate, I remember the day, because here's the thing, like, so when I said earlier that I had become a journeyman, as soon as I became a journeyman, I quit and I stopped and I went into the hospitality industry for about 18 months because I just didn't want to do it anymore. But then I missed earning so much money, which is when I picked it back up and went out to the gold mines. And so each time I traveled, when I came back, I was considering a different career every time I came back from my travels, but I was just like, no, I earn the most money. So the only way that I could travel so quickly was by earning the money that I knew I could earn, but I despised it the whole way along. So by the time I reached California, I even started welding when I got there until I got everything sorted. And I remember coming home one day, and I was about 17 years deep in this career. And I came home one day and I walked up the stairs, and in one hand, I had my lunch pail and I had my work clothes in the other hand. And I just got to the top of the stairs, looked at my wife, and I dropped it. And I was completely mentally, physically, and emotionally drained. And I said to my wife, Tiff, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I can't take this anymore. This is not how I'm supposed to freaking live. If I continue like this, I'm really scared of who I'm going to be when I'm 40 or 50 or 60 years old. And then we had a deep conversation, and she said, yeah, you totally shouldn't do this. You can do whatever you want to do. And I actually, at the point, I was so programmed in thinking that I had to continue down that path that I started arguing with my wife, saying, no, I can't start something new, or that means I'm going to have to do 17 years. And I thought I was comparing it, going, well, it was that hard for 17 years to get where I am. Anything else I do, I'm going to have to spend another 17 years going just as hard to get to the same point. But she convinced me otherwise. And then, life ended up becoming a lot better from there.
Nice. I'll tell you, it's very interesting, and again, I had no idea, but that culture of exploration, culture of travel concept that you mentioned from Australia, that's awesome. I really wish there was a lot more of that in the United States. I mean, unfortunately, we wind up typically in the United States training people to be employees. They go to school, they go to the school systems, and whatever. This isn't a conversation about school systems, but people essentially are in a way breeded to be employees. There's just not a lot of exposure to some of the things that are really important in terms of trying to take a more entrepreneurial path. We just don't learn that in school. So as a result, you wind up having people who are, maybe not necessarily with the same company for years and years, but they wind up being in that same industry forever. I mean, I pretty much worked in one field for pretty much, until recently, my entire career in one field. So, yeah.
So, what was the kind of an deciding factor? I mean, you said you came home, you had enough. Was it a clear path at that point that you were going to go down? It was an entrepreneurial path, but did you know real estate at that time? Or were you still kind of deciding what it was going to be, what it looked like your future?
Didn't really know, it was an exploration. Real estate was always in the back of my mind. Even when I was welding, I'm like, yeah, one day I'm going to own a couple of rental properties. That was just what I thought. I suppose I had pretty limiting beliefs at the time. I didn't really understand what was out there. And the interesting thing is once I started to unfold all of this entrepreneurship and all these different angles of how we can make money, I came across the world of self-development, which really has been one of the biggest keys to my success, because we can learn the tactics all day long, but unless we're the person we need to be to execute those tactics and to maintain things and keep it sustainable, then it's going to crumble beneath us. And so, my wife and I ended up just becoming fully obsessed with self-development. We still are. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a path. I mean, real estate is absolutely amazing. We absolutely love mobile home parks. We love multifamily apartments as well. I mean, our firm Property Works focuses on helping passive investors create financial freedom through recession-resistant investments, which is very important today, especially the economic environment that we're in right now. But my education never ends. I mean, this year I've been to Tony Robbins courses. I've done a couple of Grant Cardone's courses. I'm going down and seeing George Gammon down in Florida in a couple of weeks, and Peter Fortunato. And I just education for sure.
That's great. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. you know better than I do, Bill, the Jim Rohn quote. What is it? People, you rarely exceed your something about your level of achievement versus compared to your level of effort you put into your self-development. I totally butchered that quote, but it was something comes from Jim Rohn. And the point there is that, of course, that, you're right. Expand your mind, keep growing, keep learning, I've always taken the approach, no matter what I do, whether it's, my old W-2 job or whether it's this, that there's always something new I can learn. There's always something I can continue building. There's always something I can always do to continue to improve. So, that's great. And self-development, absolutely. There's so much great stuff out there that you're taking advantage of. Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now. I mean, there's if you really want to do something like that, like you're saying, Bryce, there's hardly any excuse not to be able to get educated. With YouTube, I mean, all the opportunities, educational platforms, podcasts that are out there currently. You have a book out too. I mean, there's just all kinds of ways you can educate yourself for free or close to free. I mean, it's not like it was 30 years ago or something like that, where you really had to know somebody and get on the inside track somehow, or figure it out all out yourself from scratch. There's a lot of ways you can kind of shorten that learning curve.
Absolutely. And I think all the resources that we need are there. I think the biggest challenge for most people is, one, they either don't believe it's possible, period. Like they don't believe that it's possible to become financially free in a couple of years and retire yourself from a job. That just seems unrealistic. And number two, they don't think it's possible for them. And once we can get over that mindset challenge in ourselves, which is something I experienced. I mean, I didn't break through that barrier till I was 30. I wish someone had knocked me over the head 10 years earlier. Would have saved a lot of pain. But yeah, I mean, we all can. And the more I go through my entrepreneurial experiences, the more opportunities there are. And I'm like, this is absurd. There's so many people in America that are hustling, and there is just an absolute abundance of amazing investment opportunities that aren't being seized because the average general public is just not taking advantage of it because they don't know about it. And so those doors have remained closed.
Yeah, the growth mindset is something that really, you have to obviously kind of change your way of thinking about things. I don't have to continue to do this job day after day, year after year, because, whatever. I mean, certainly there's, you've got people may have very well a family to support and bills to pay. So you have to be responsible with it. You can't just drop everything and go off and to create the next best thing. But at the same point in time, there's still ways to go about doing that to take advantage of those opportunities. And again, you're so right that once you open your mind to possibilities, you'd be surprised what actually knocks on your door. We've had other things knock on our door that are just not in an area that we focus on, but because we're in this mindset. So,
well, what is it at RAS, right? Reticular activating system that, if you buy a red truck, all of a sudden you see all the other red trucks on the road. Well, they're always there. Like the opportunities, right? You're filtered it out because it wasn't important to you, or you weren't looking for it. And then when you change your mindset there, now all of a sudden everything that was there, you start to see and ways to work and build from that.
Yeah. And I was stuck in a career for it ended up being 20 years that I was stuck in that career for, that I despised. And I thought that was my best path because that's what the system had taught me. If I wasn't going to do that, I was going to go to university and get degrees. And that was daunting too, looking at that. And so then I actually uncovered what was possible in real estate. And then I bought my first mobile home park. And then 2.5 years later, I became financially free. And if I look at what I did in that 2.5 years, I was actually doing that after work, like in my spare time. Like I still had a full-time job. If I look at the amount of work that I had to put in to become financially free compared to the 17, 20-year slug that got me pretty much nowhere, it's just mind-boggling how quickly and how easily we can attain the things that we want in life. So through real estate and through investments and through being an entrepreneur and a business owner. And there's so many different niches and asset classes and different business types that people can take advantage of and be part of and provide value to other people. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, you're right. There is so much out there, but at the same point in time, don't let that fact overwhelm you. Pick something you're interested in and dig into it. Educate yourself and learn about how to proceed and go down a path. And you're absolutely right. You can turn that new thing into something that supports you and enables you to be financially free. So Bryce, as you were moving really in the direction you mentioned, mobile home parks with Property Works, were there some early obstacles you had to overcome?
Yeah, that would be an understatement. So my first park, I actually put that under contract when I had a negative net worth. I had $2,000 in the bank, and I had unseasoned credit because I hadn't been in Australia, in America long enough.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'd been to a real estate investment club meeting, a RIA meeting, and I had found out that people could team up with other people. They would find the deals, bring the deals to the table, and then other people would have money and experience, and then they would tie up and do a deal together. And so I just applied that same method to mobile home parks, and I went out to family and friends and raised capital for the first deal. We had a joint venture, and then we ended up closing on the deal 3 months later. And then once I knew that was possible, and this first park, it wasn't huge. It was like a 40 space park in Southern California. It was purchase price was $570,000. I think I had to raise $200,000 to get the deal done. And we went with private financing. Someone actually financed it through their retirement account, their self-directed retirement account. And I mean, that seemingly impossible deal. And to add to the seemingly impossible pressure, I had paid $36,000 for mentoring and education in the real estate space, which came with a mentor who was supposed to guide me through purchasing my first mobile home park. And so I called him up to tell him, hey, I got this park. I want to put it under contract. Here's my circumstances, negative net worth, $2,000 in the bank, unseasoned credit. He said, kiddo, you're dreaming. You're never going to do it. Come back to the investment club and stick with single family homes just like everybody else does. You're way in over your head.
Wow.
I hung up on him. That completely motivated me to show him otherwise, because this was what I was interested in. Mm-hmm. So, that was the pressure that I had against me. And then once I achieved that, and I looked back at how I achieved that, I was like, wow, I felt 10 foot tall. And then I went out there and did much bigger and better deals and used the power of raising capital and syndication in our business model moving forward. And we've used it ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again amazing that the concept of you can't do that. Well, BS, I can't do it. We certainly we're not here to talk about our deals, but again, Bill's in my first deal was a 216 unit. And people were like, "Are you crazy?" And I love how Bill says it. Well, nobody told us we couldn't. So we figured out a way. We made it happen. It was not easy, but we did it. So
yeah, and we're talking like 200 and something multifamily apartment units that are renting for over $1,000 a month. Like that's a big freaking purchase. That's a big purchase. It's huge.
Yeah, but
good for you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Well, listen, again, that's pretty exciting, about how you were able to do that first deal. And it's interesting that you applied the mindset. You were in a group, it sounded like it was really much, much more focused on doing the single families. Nothing wrong with that. But you went bigger and you applied it to another model and you made it work. Nice.
Yeah, and we actually put that education on credit cards because, we were trying to make it all work too. So
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That would sound like it was your example. Was it your first victory you had in your new path then? Was that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Getting that deal across the finish line was a massive victory. And I hit the ground running after that one. Yeah.
That kind of catapulted you into the career path, and you knew you could do it. It was achievable. You just executed on that plan and then full speed ahead.
Yeah, man, it got me so excited. It's like I just looked at what I had to do to create this massive, monumental financial change in my life. And I also got to bring people with me who, by the way, fast forward 4.3 years later, they ended up making 57.3% annual returns each year for 4.3 years. And they wanted to make 12%. I projected that I was going to make them 20%, and we just knocked it out of the park. So all of us made a lot of money off that deal. And that was just like, you kidding me? 17 years doing this and then a couple of months doing this. And so I was definitely hooked at that point and full steam ahead. And so I just obsessed. So like my friends were, hey, come to the baseball game. Hey, come to the football game. Hey, come over to our party. Hey, come away for the weekend, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I'm going to a real estate thing. I'm working on deals. I'm doing some self-development stuff. And they're all telling me, you're boring. Oh, what's up with all that real estate stuff? Why are you going to spend your time doing that? And fast forward 2019, my wife, we're years into being financially free at that point. And we decided to just randomly travel the world for 6 months. We went to 20 countries. We went to South America and Europe. And I launched my book while I did that. We got new investments launched, all these things. These same friends, they're like, man, how do you live this life? This is amazing. This is crazy. And I'm like, yeah, remember all those weekends when you wanted me to come out? Yeah, well, I just dedicated myself.
Yeah, you're reaping the rewards for being willing to do what other people were not willing to do.
Absolutely.
Takes effort.
And it didn't even take that long. It was like what? Sacrifice my weekends for like 2 years, 2.5 years. Are you kidding me? That's like in exchange for living free. I mean, bring it on.
Yeah.
I forget what book it was, but I always like the quote they talked about, the poor talk about people, the middle class talk about things, possessions, and the wealthy talk about ideas. And I think that's it. You're amongst yourselves, and it just creates a breeding ground for, new ways to do things, new ways to look at things, and, and new ways to get financially free. I mean, I think I've always liked that quote and understood what it meant. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
So Bryce, in your new path with doing the mobile home parks, et cetera, is there a humorous anecdote that you can share, something funny along the way?
Something funny along the way. I suppose it depends on your sense of humor. We had someone who was cracked out of their head running through the park naked the other day in one of our parks. And recently we had someone who burnt one of our homes down. I suppose that's not that comical, but I suppose it's exciting. I was actually hiking in Patagonia in Chile, and then I had no cell service for 5 days. And then we finally got out of the national park there. I got my cell range service, and then my friend sent me a text saying, and there was a video with a mobile home on fire. And he's like, is this one of your homes? Ha. And then I just thought, it's a bit of a joke. There's a mobile home on fire. He's just, having a crack at me. And it was the news, and it actually mentioned the name of my park. And I was like, that actually is one of our homes. And it was a pretty intelligent move by a tenant who we evicted. And she said, we evicted her. She was evicted. It was completely done. And she had said, well, I know that we got evicted, and I know that that's what the court said. But if you decide to go forward with that, I am going to burn the house down. And so, a week later she did. Oh, she actually got some other people in the park too, but they're in jail now. So yeah, I suppose that might not be completely comical, but
well, the first part about the naked person running through was funny, but you're right. Yeah. The second one's pretty awful.
Oh man, the park manager.
What's that? As long as it wasn't the park manager. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least I'm glad the second crazy person is accountable and is in jail at this point. So wow.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce, where are you today on your journey as you're going full time and scaling this? Where are you today?
Yeah, we're in massive growth mode this year. We're in massive acquisitions. We just closed on a park yesterday. We've got another 2 under contract. We've got another 1,000 lots coming to the table very soon here. Building out the team, bringing on new team members, expanding. And it's really, really freaking exciting, because in the beginning, I was a little bit daunted about building a team and the responsibility and whatnot years ago. But as I'm building my team, what I'm noticing is the most important part to everybody is the culture that they're buying into, because I'm all about the freedom trinity of financial, time, and location freedom. And I want everybody that works with us, all of our investors, to either achieve or expand on their financial freedom. And so we're basically putting together a plan for people on our team to create financial freedom, to become a multimillionaire or excel to becoming become a millionaire, excel to becoming multimillionaire. And that's what we're doing. And it's so excited to be working with people who are juiced and amped to live free and to work as part of a team and to just cultivate this amazing culture of freedom. And it's just, I'm loving it, just really loving it.
And what a contrast, right? Between 17-year sentence you had before, and now you dreaded going to work. You're mentally, physically, everything exhausted, and now I'm sure you can't wait to get up and do the next deal. I mean, just as you get your mind going to the possibilities. And
Totally. It's so motivating. And now it's just like, I wake up in the morning, and it used to be like, well, it's up to me today. And, I'm going to be responsible for it. But now I wake up and it's like, I got a team. I can't let my team down, so it motivates me even more. Mm-hmm. And to go back to the 17-year prison sentence of being a welder, one of the events that happened before I broke down that day and came to my wife was, I remember being in the restroom one day, and I was sitting down taking care of business, and one of the guys walked in, one of the top guys walked in and said, "Hey, Bryce." I'm like, "Yeah, we need you out here." And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm in the restroom, dude." He's like, "Doesn't matter. You're taking too long. Get out here." And I was just like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me. I can't even take care of that." So that was definitely one of the breaking points for me, for sure. That's not freedom. That's not freedom.
Wow. So Bryce, where does the road take you from here? Where do you go forward?
We are just, trying to do everything we can to help out with the affordable housing crisis, I would call it, in America. I believe it's the largest real estate problem that needs to be solved in America today. So we've got nationwide, there's about 44,000 known mobile home parks. And, let's just say that the average mobile home park is 100 spaces. That's 500,000 mobile homes that there would be nationwide. Now, there's more than that. There's not dramatically more than that, but we have 300 million people in America that are living here. And depending on where you get your information on, somewhere between 20 to 30% of those people who live in America have the need for affordable housing, which is a living expense of $700 or less each month. And if you look at what is there, 500,000 places that we could fit people? I mean, it's just absolutely absurd. Even if we 10x'd that, we're still not even coming close. Yep. And so, mobile home parks are the largest contributor to solving the affordable housing problem, yet less than 1% of people in America can be housed in mobile home parks. And, but there's 20% or more that actually need it. So yeah, we're doing everything that we can to improve the mobile home park space, to build our team, and to help our investors create financial freedom. And it's just all round win-win-win scenario for us. And yeah, we're just knuckling down and taking massive action.
Nice. Yeah, I don't have the source, but this was a statistic before COVID, and I don't know what COVID's impact on this number would be. But anyway, back then, the stat I heard was that we were, in the United States, 5 million units short of having enough housing in this country.
Yeah, and units. Yeah. And how many people go in each unit? More than one, probably 3 people. So that's 15 million people who don't have the housing that they need.
Exactly. Yeah.
Big problem.
It's amazing.
Big problem.
Yeah.
Well, Bryce, what's something you've recently implemented in your business that's helped you achieve your goals? I know growing the team is one side of it. Is there anything else you've in step with that you've done?
I would say that this is probably a little bit outside my business, but it definitely affects my business, and it'd be my morning routine this year. And I haven't completely perfected it, but I've definitely been doing a pretty good job at it. And I've got a 3-hour morning routine where I go through meditation and visualization, and I work out, and I eat good foods, and take the little pup out and give him a bit of a play in the morning. And it's just an amazing routine where all of the non-business things that I want to achieve each day, do with relationships, spirituality, having fun, health, I'm knocking out in the morning in the first 3 hours. And so then by the time I come to begin my work day, I don't have that thing looming at the end of the day that I need to do. I'm already done. So I can just give all my power and all my energy to business. And I'm in a peak state when I do that, because I've already worked out, I've already had healthy foods, I've already become spiritually grounded. And I think that really, really helps. And then one of the other things, I suppose, directly that I've been doing in business is pausing before I reply. I suppose I can be pretty aggressive by nature, and that has allowed me to do massive things in life. But by pausing before I respond, it allows me just a couple more seconds to come back with a better response. And that's really, really helped me out this year.
Okay. Yeah, I certainly, I do the same thing when it comes to verbal, but even in written, communication, there's so often I've written an email because I need to unload something right now. And then I'm like, I need to hold on before I send that and let that sit overnight or something like that. And then I come back and I take a more balanced tone, perhaps a little more professional and a little more even, versus starting World War III, because it's certainly, obviously, and whatever that situation might be, it just doesn't wind up usually benefiting you to blow off, flat.
No, so, it doesn't serve anybody.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So Bryce, what advice would you give somebody who's considering making a path change?
I would say just pick something and stick to it. Doesn't matter if it's perfect to start off with. Just pick something, stick to it, laser focus on one thing. And if you do it enough for enough amount of times and enough amount of energy, you're going to have results. And then, once you're successful at that thing, then you can move on and you can choose another thing. I think most of us get paralysis analysis because there's so many different things out there. We don't even start anything, but just start. You don't even have to know what the finish is. When I got my first mobile home park under contract, I had no idea where the money was coming from. I had no idea how we were going to get financing for the park. I just needed to get it under contract. So I just focused on the next step. What is the next step that I need to do? Get under contract. Okay, what have I got to do now? Perform due diligence. Okay, what have I got to do now? Get financing. Bang, what have I got to do now? Raise capital for the down payment for the financing. Boom. And it was just next step. If I actually thought about all the pieces, I would have probably taken myself out of the game. And I would have been like, well, I don't know how to do this, don't know how to do that, don't know how to do that. But just figure out how to do the next step. That's it.
Right. Take action. Absolutely.
Well, Bryce, what's the best ways for the listeners to get a hold of you and find out more about what you're involved with, you're doing, and also your book? You want to mention the name of that and best way to get it?
Sure, absolutely. A lot of different ways you can reach me. Probably the best is to go to propertyworksusa.com. Propertyworks, the works ends with a Z or a Z, because we got cool spelling. So propertyworksusa.com. You can also email me, Bryce, BRYCE, at propertyworksusa.com. Or you can check me out at Freedom Hack Radio, where we explore the freedom trinity of financial, time, and location freedom. We do that by living and growing and maintaining balance in wealth, health, relationships, spirituality, and having fun. And also we have our book, 10,000 Miles to the American Dream, that I'm co-author of. It was written by the Real Estate Mates. We are 8 Australians who had come over to America seeking financial freedom, and we all achieved it through our own different asset classes in real estate. So we share our stories there and share some of those hints and crack the code with you as well. And you can find that on Amazon. We also have the audio book out there on Amazon. I also write articles for Bigger Pockets, so you can go on there and check that out. I write on the macro economy and also mobile home parks. And you'll probably see me on plenty of other podcasts out there as well.
That's great. Well, yeah, Bryce, we want to thank you for being on the Road Less Traveled show today. I really enjoyed the conversation and wish you continued success.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. And for all the viewers out there, I truly wish that you live large and live free.
Absolutely, Bryce. Great phrase. We really want to thank our listeners. We appreciate you tuning in today and being part of the Road Less Traveled show. And we certainly encourage you to, keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. The road less traveled may be calling you. We encourage you to listen and take action. Thanks for tuning in. Bryce.